That's right, the title's real. Kiesel sent me a guitar. And if that surprises you, I can assure you that it does not surpass the surprise that I had when I got the email. Let me tell you all about it. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Restring Sunday. You hopefully know the drill by now. There's been over 20 episodes and I'll link the playlist so that you can check out some of the past episodes. But this is a video series where I take a guitar, I talk a little bit about it, I restring it and I play it. It's a pretty simple format, but great for some guitar nerdery. And we're going to change the format just slightly. I'm not going to show you the guitar yet, because there's a story behind it. Because if you're questioning, Kiesel sent him a guitar? It means that you've been watching this channel for over 5 years. So, thanks for that. But let me explain, because it surprised me as well. See, Kiesel and I, we didn't really get off on the right foot of things back a little over 5 years ago when I made a video about a customer service faux pas. Is that the right word? Maybe. There was a customer service issue and I was very vocal about it, how I didn't believe that it was handled correctly. And to Kiesel's credit, they also think that they needed to improve on the customer service and have done efforts to improve there. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. But the point is, I was very vocal criticizing some of Kiesel's actions. But to be fair, I did also state in a follow-up video that I was hopeful that they would change, give them a chance to change, get better. So anyway, flash forward about 5 years, and I do a video talking about the luxury guitar market. I was talking about the prices being kind of incredibly insane, skyrocketing. I gave a comparison of Jackson Custom Shop, which are Californian based, and their basic standard custom shop model, basic specs, was at least $5,000, which I thought was kind of crazy. And in the comparison, I said, well, from the outside looking in, it looks like Kiesel offer a lot better value than the Jackson Custom Shop, just based off price and spec. So then, a few days after I upload that video, I get an email from Brandon at Kiesel, and he tells me that, well, hey, we're sorry about how that thing 5 years ago was handled, but we think that we've improved a lot. Would you like to check out a guitar? We'd like to make one for you. And I'm like, okay, let me see. So I spec'd out a guitar, and it was an Ultra V. Kiesel Ultra V, nice and pointy, cool spec. And maybe you've seen it in the back of some recent videos, maybe not, maybe. So I spec'd that out, and we will be talking about that in much more detail in another Restring Sunday in the coming weeks. But for now, I spec'd that out. That's the first Kiesel that's going to be built. But Brandon also says, hey, that guitar, we're going to build that. That's going to be cool. But it is a design from the Carvin days. It comes from like the mid-80s. Would you also like to try out something that represents a Kiesel design? Something from a more modern time? I'm thinking, okay, yeah, let's do it. And that is what this guitar is today. So I spec'd this out. I think it's time we take a look. Okay. This is a Kiesel A2, the Multiscale variant. Now, Kiesel are a custom shop, and they make every guitar custom. So this is entirely built to my specs, and it is very, very nice. I'm going to be completely honest here. It's one of the best guitars I've played, and I'm scared to say that, because I don't say that. I play a lot of different guitars. This is phenomenal. Let me tell you a little bit about it while we restring. So first things first, what is this? Because Kiesel make a whole bunch of different shapes. Well, this is the Kiesel A2. For years, like since 2015-ish, I think, something like that, Kiesel have built the Aries guitar, and they kind of made a name for themselves with extreme bevels on the contours. And this is the Aries 2, the A2 is what it's referred to as. And it's just a slightly different take on the Aries. It is more asymmetrical in shape. We've got a smaller, lower bout of the guitar, standard size guitar here, so it's supposed to reflect kind of a headless body on this side of the guitar and a normal body on this side of the guitar with the bevel, but it's just not as extreme as the original Aries. And with that asymmetrical design, I thought this suited perfectly to a multi-scale. So that's what we went to. And this particular multi-scale, you know, I like multi-scale guitars. This one is 25.5 inches on the high E, so a normal Fender scale guitar on the high E, and then it goes down to the low E for 27 inches. So it's 1.5 inches difference in length between the high E and the low E. I've played a lot of multi-scale guitars in my time. You know that I enjoy multi-scales if you've followed this channel for a while, but it's very easy to mess them up. In fact, the worst playing guitar I've ever played was a multi-scale. It was, well, what made it bad was where the parallel fret is. The parallel fret on this guitar is the 9th fret, and I think that's probably the best place for it. It's the same on the Ormsby's that I play. The 9th fret is the parallel straight fret, and the fretboard fans out from that fret. I played a guitar where the parallel fret was actually the nut, and it meant that the fan was incredibly extreme and ultimately hindered playing dramatically. So this good design on the multi-scale. Now, the elephant in the room perhaps is the finish. What is it? Well, you see, it's maybe the one thing that you could be critical of Kiesel for, and that is they are a custom shop, but a menued custom shop. What that means is you've got a whole lot of specs that you can choose from and you can spec this guitar out. For example, I'll run you through some of the specs that are standard on the, well, not standard, but they're off the standard menu when it comes to Kiesel. So this guitar, A2 body style, multi-scale, perfect. It is a neck through. That means the piece of the neck at the top of the headstock goes all the way through the body and it's there. That is the same piece of wood at the neck. And it's a 3-piece walnut and purple heart neck. The other big thing that they changed for the A2 is the neck heel. This neck through carve is, it's just all access. You can get right up with no problems at all. I'm touching past the 24th fret there without any hindrance at all on that particular cutaway. You've got a lot of access. The bodywood, or the wings in this case, that are glued against the neck, that is swamp ash, very light, and I opted for it to be chambered so it was even lighter. Then we went for a maple top, a flamed maple top, and a ebony fretboard. They've got multiple choices for an ebony fretboard. They've got multiple choices in fretboard in general. I could have got a maple fretboard on this, a flame maple fretboard, bird's eye, ritualite, but I went for an ebony, and they've got multiple choices for the ebony as well. They have extra dark ebony, where it's going to be primarily, or as close to just solid black as you can get naturally without it being dyed or anything, which is a very common practice among ebony boards. But I like my wood in the guitar to look like wood. So I opted for just the ebony fretboard, which means that you can get a little bit of color in it, color variation, and we do. We get some beautiful color variation in this board. It really is very pretty. Let's actually oil it while we talk about it. But if you really love color variation, you could also go for a royal ebony board, which has a lot more potential for different streaky colors in it. And well, you might see some of that in a different video. Wink, wink. This particular one is just the ebony board, just the standard, because I wanted it not to be too crazy, but I still like it to look, have a little bit of natural wood flavoring to it. And that's what this one has gone with. The frets, 24 stainless steel frets, stainless steel jumbos specifically, that I ordered. I think they come with like medium jumbo as standard. These ones are jumbo. You can get a plethora of different headstock shapes, but I opted to go for the pointed reverse headstock. Reverse headstocks will always be a favorite of mine, and the pointed, it looks about as 80s as you can get, and I couldn't think of a better color to go for that vibe. I also opted to go for the drop shadow silver logo because I thought it would pop a little bit more on the color, and it absolutely does. You can see it from a good distance. And then the big thing about this guitar, the big thing that makes it stand out, I think, a little bit more than normal, would be the finish. This is kind of half a standard finish and half a custom finish. And this purple to pink faded stain is on their standard menu. But I've customized it a little bit with this pink pearl metallic burst around the edges. And I think it is beautiful. I think it makes it pop just phenomenally so. Genuinely beautiful guitar. And that is an off menu option. I saw somebody got a guitar made there. It was on the Kiesel Instagram page. I saw the finish, I saw what it looked like, and I just said, that's the one. And I told Brandon, and he sorted that out for me. So that is, here's the difference with Kiesel, and this is the one bit that you could say is a negative. That is what they refer to as an option 50, which is an off menu option. So they still do it, and there's an upcharge to do it, but that is what they would refer to as a non-returnable guitar. So everything on this guitar, except for that pink pearl burst, would, if you spec'd out the guitar like that without that, the guitar would be returnable if you just didn't gel with it. Once the pink burst goes on, it is non-returnable. And to a degree, I can understand why it would be non-returnable. Remember, this is an off-menu custom shop option, and I know for a fact that some of you think this is the ugliest guitar in the world. I also know that some of you think it's a beautiful guitar. I think it's a beautiful guitar. But I know that some people don't. And so I can understand why they wouldn't want it to be returned, because it would be harder to sell. They'd have to do a discount, which is, again, understandable because it's nowhere near for everybody. Now, when I did the ordering, I did actually specifically order it where one of the guitars, because we've got two Kiesels to look at on the channel, one of the guitars would have an option 50 non-returnable custom shop option to see what it would be like. And I also spec the other one to where it would be kind of a standard, quote-unquote, custom shop where everything is on the menu. And I think both guitars turned out great. But this one has just, you know, this is a custom shop guitar with that finish. It is so pretty. Now on the back, we're still talking about finish, which is crazy, but I mean, it kind of justifies it. On the back, I've gone for a see-through blacked out ash finish. In normal lights, it looks just black, but in certain other lights, like sunlight, natural light, you can see the beautiful ash body. And in fact, the ash on this is flamed. You can get some flame figure in it. It is really pretty. And as far as I know, how they make the bodies is this piece and this piece were connected. They're part of the same plank. So they both have some of that figuring in it. It's not like only one piece has it and it kind of throws things off. They both are essentially brothers. They're part of the wood. So that is just a nice little touch that I particularly like. It's the small things that I think matter. And actually, I've told you, I genuinely think this is such a good guitar. I took it out live to play. No backups or anything, just This is it in the gig bag, which, by the way, it's a nice one. It's a very firm, solid gig bag. So I don't even feel like you should call it a gig bag. Gig case? But taking this to the gig, it played fantastic and I had a great time. As far as the fretboard goes, there is one other thing that I opted for. Because we kind of got the pink-purple vibe, I wanted the inlays to be pink. And that's one of them. Again, it's an on-menu option. There were a lot of options. I think the big thing was option paralysis almost. I spent a while really trying to figure out what I wanted with this guitar. And the inlays were one of those things that I was struggling on because I was thinking, right, well, it's kind of... I think having your name inlaid on a fretboard, that's reserved for Elvis Presley. But Kiesel only inlay one letter on the fretboard, and it's only going to be K for Kiesel, but I mean, it can be K for me as well. So I opted for the K. We got the pink inlays, the dots that are swap sides after the 12th fret, and the K on the 12th fret. It's really pretty. I think so anyway. We're going to be putting some D'Addario 10s on this, and we're going to be tuning to D standard, kind of as always. Occasionally I tune things to like E or E flat, but in most cases we're D standarding, and this plays very well in D standard. It was set up by Kiesel. Oh, let's talk about setup, because strings are gone. Because there's a couple of things that Kiesel pride themselves on, more than just like your standard pride. One of the things is finish. Now, I think it's fair to say they knocked it out of the park with this finish. It is incredibly smooth and it just looks beautiful. Hopefully the camera does it justice, but this is a beautiful, beautiful finish. So I think it's fair to say that they passed on the beautiful finish test, even if it's not a finish that you particularly love. You know, acknowledging that that is not something that you'd see every day and they managed to knock it out of the park, they did it very well. And the other thing that Kiesel tend to pride themselves on is their neck stability, their neck strength. This is a 3-piece neck. They make them in 1-piece, 3-piece, 5-piece, 7-piece. I went for the 3-piece on this, which was really just to, I liked the long, thick piece of Purple Heart. I thought it tied in well with the overall pinky purple vibes of this guitar. But I get a lot of guitars here, and the climate in Ireland tends to be very wet, and for at least 3/4 of the year, pretty cold. This guitar came from Escondido, California, which is not pretty wet and not pretty cold. And normally when I get a guitar, it doesn't have to be from a warm climate, it can just be from a different climate. It's pretty bog standard to have to adjust the truss rod because the neck is wood, right? It's naturally gonna move a little bit. I didn't need to adjust the truss rod on this, or the other Kiesel that I have. The stability, incredibly impressive. I'm used to having to adjust the truss rod and I didn't have to here. And I think that might be, you know, they've got a dual action truss rod, but they also have carbon fiber rods going down the neck. They're really strong or something, because it hasn't moved and it plays really well. So they have pride in their necks. I'm gonna give them a thumbs up on that too. Now I have noticed something that's just a little bit weird. It's thrown me off a little bit. Just a slight inconvenience that I didn't know existed. So if you want a negative drawback to this particular guitar, I could probably say this. So when we're restringing, if you notice, the string comes up through behind the spring. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to pull up the saddle to kind of thread the string through the saddle. I mean, it's slightly hard doing it one-handed here. I am holding a camera. There we go, that only took a second, but just to note that that's a thing. That's really the only negative. You know, I was expecting to have one more, but I actually really like what I was expecting not to like. What I mean by that is that the inputs, or I should say outputs of this guitar, well, there's outputs. So there are two outputs on this guitar. There's one where you would normally maybe expect an output to be, which is right on the side of the guitar, right beside the control cavity, and then you've got another one on the back. It's like a Strat style, but it's inlaid into the guitar. And I was expecting to not like that, but I actually used that way more actually than the one on the side. I find this one to be the most comfortable. You would think that, oh, it would poke into your body or something, but I've used both angled and straight jacks in here, and the cable isn't anywhere close to your body. If you're playing it, or you've got the guitar here, the cable is over here. So I'm going straight in as a cable. I'd have to hold the guitar here for it to be a problem, and that I would never hold a guitar like that. Even if I was playing with a strap, it would be somewhat out from my body. It is never, the cable out of that has never hit my body. I think that's actually kind of a really good spot for it to be. So thumbs up on that as well. And while it might be a niche point, it's still worth mentioning that both jacks work at the same time. So you don't have to pick one necessarily. You could theoretically have a kind of almost a wet dry split from your guitar itself. You could send this jack to just your dirt pedals and the jack on the back to your wet effects and go into 2 amps. You could have one signal going into like an interface for a DAW, and you could have one going into amps or effects or something. You could do a lot of things with 2 outputs on your guitar. It's definitely worth having. I'm not going to say no to an extra jack, even though I thought that's unusual. I actually really like that. I will say restringing with the little thing on the bridge, slightly annoying because it just takes a little bit longer. It's slightly more finicky, but overall that is a very, very minor point. One other thing that I actually forgot to mention was the pickups. I was also maybe a little bit worried that the pickups weren't going to be great, but then I thought, well, actually Kiesel as a brand, like 1940s Kiesel, they started out making pickups. They were making pickups for Leo Fender, so I probably shouldn't be too worried, and I didn't need to be. I talked to Brandon on the phone, and he recommended that I use, for my style of playing anyway, he recommended I use an Illusionist in the bridge and a Beryllium in the neck. And I think that they sound pretty darn good. And something that maybe sets this guitar apart a little bit, you've got your volume, you've got your tone, you've got your 5-way switch. The switching is a little bit different, I think, than what you would normally expect. Normally you would have this position, bridge, then single coil, the middle would be both pickups, then you've got single coil, then you've got neck pickup. I believe the difference is that the middle switch is not both humbuckers. It is, I believe it's 2 single coils, a single coil from this pickup and a single coil from that pickup. It makes things just a little bit different. It's a nice tone for cleans. And if we're being honest with ourselves, how many of us actually use the middle selection of 2 pickups, 2 humbucker pickups over either a neck or a bridge? I know that I hardly ever do. So having that just little difference is nice for me. At the time when Kiesel approached me about making a guitar, I was asking them, about their QC and stuff, and they mentioned this. They were doing some changes internally at the company, and one of the things that they were introducing was a quality inspection checklist. And they tick off all the things that they're checking, which is a nice touch. You can't really knock a company doing more QC. that is only going to be good. It's only going to be resulting in more consistency and better instruments. And I have to say that I have had actual experience with this happening. I'll talk a little bit more about this in the Ultra V video, but the reason that this video is first is that the Ultra V, the other Kiesel that they're making, it was almost done. And in the QC inspection, they found something, I'm not sure what, that they deemed it wasn't to their standards, so they rebuilt the entire guitar. Completely new guitar. So I can't knock them doing some QC. I have to commend that, because, you know, rebuilding guitars isn't something that they want to have to do, but stopping it right there and then has to be a good thing. And the other thing that is just a little bit cool is that they started doing these, including these with every guitar. It's a little toolkit. You've got Allen keys, you've got screwdrivers, you've got a whole bunch of tools. That's very useful. I've used this for multiple things. It's just a nice touch. I have to say, I'm impressed with this guitar. I really, really, really genuinely like it. I think the scale length on this is really nice. The fan is really nice. The playability is fantastic. It plays like a dream. And it also looks gorgeous. Oh, there's one last thing I should probably mention about spec, because I'm just going through everything that I remember. The neck on this one, I ordered the slim neck there, super skinny one. It really isn't that much of a noticeable difference from their standard neck. The other guitar I ordered the standard neck on, just to compare the two, and there's really not that much of a difference. But this is a skinny neck, and I think they both kind of lean towards skinny rather than thick. And it plays really nice. Hand on heart, this is one of the best playing guitars I've had. And I've played a lot, and not even just had, I've played. I have played a lot of guitars. Think about a guitar brand, I have played them. This is amazing. And I have to be truthful about that, which is a scary thing, because shockingly, saying something is amazing is actually more controversial normally than saying something that isn't. But that's just the way things are. I've just done it, ladies and gentlemen. I've just restrung a guitar fully in a Restring Sunday. If you've been watching, that doesn't happen. So, thank you for watching. If you like this type of restring content, there is over 20 videos now. Over 20, that's a huge number. And there's going to be even more. So make sure to like and subscribe. Subscribe so that you can see next week's and the week after, and probably the week after, dependent on the weather. If we get massive storms and it means that I can't shoot outside, that might be an issue. But there's other videos and stuff that I upload as well. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.